11-0. They have outscored their adversaries. Looking to add to it. Lazar to the cup for two. Carly Lazar. 422 back set. Here is the winner for Ellie Cook. There goes Strong with it. Oh, how about that? I'm always pretty well here to right. Going back to Gilpin and it's gone. A grand slam. We welcome you to another edition of Season Preview here on the Carlow Sports Network, looking at the Carlow men's soccer team. Sean Meyers now joined by the second-year head coach, Allen Duda. Allen, always a chance to talk to you at the beginning of every fall season, both for the women and now for the second year running the men as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure doing this.
So I mentioned you're now doing double duty. That was the case last year as well. You added men's coaching to your plate. The team went 3-13-0. How did you evaluate your first year with the men's team?
Last year it was a tough season. Took over the program late before the season actually started. So I believe it was like 4 or 6 weeks before the season started. So it was a struggle at the beginning just to get everything going. But once we got it going, got a team, we got started playing. So we gained some very valuable experience last year.
What are some of the biggest differences coaching men versus coaching women?
The speed of the play is the biggest thing. Men's soccer is much faster than women's soccer. So a little bit more physical, but the speed is the big thing.
Other than probably not sleeping very much, what are some of the challenges that you experience coaching two collegiate teams simultaneously?
Yeah, the sleep is definitely a big thing. It's not really difficult because it's still soccer. It's just flipping that switch between the women and men's because it's a different style of coaching. But that's the biggest part.
Well, since the last time that we talked, you've added a new role with Carlow University. What's most exciting to you about that opportunity?
I think just overseeing both programs is a great thing for me. I've always wanted to do something like that, and Carlow's given me that opportunity.
So you had 4 seniors on last year's team, and the good news is 3 of them are back. So they used their extra year of eligibility. What went into that decision, and how significant overall was that for your team to get those guys back?
Yeah, just discussions with them after the last season. We talked about where I see this program going and how beneficial they would be if they came back to it. Very happy to have them back. They're an important part of Carlow program being a successful one.
Yeah, Nick, one of them. We're going to hear from him, Lonthar, and Jean Vier as well. Aside from those 3, who are the other key returners that you have on the squad this year?
We've got quite a few returners coming, pretty much the whole team except a couple that had graduated. But Gavin Moore will be big for us. Sadesh will be big for us. There's quite a few returning.
And we saw that the roster's grown, which means that you have some newcomers as well. That's always a good sign. Who are some of the notable players, and what expectations do you have for the guys in their first year at this program?
Yeah, I think gaining Kevin Garcia, he's one of our goalkeepers. He's going to be an important player with this group. Getting Mason on the team, he transferred in. He's going to be an important player as well.
What have you set for team goals in 2022?
To do better than the 3 wins we had last season, to at least compete in the River States Conference, make a push or make it difficult for the other teams to play against us. Just to compete and have a full season.
And one way to do that is to add numbers to the roster. You've been able to do that. And more importantly, I would say, is you added depth in goal. So what expectations do you have for your goalkeepers, and how important is it that you have multiple options now?
Yeah, I think one nice thing about this team moving forward is no matter who we put in, that the style of play doesn't change, the level of play doesn't change. We have a real good group that's been working hard these last few weeks, and they all want to play, and they're playing for each other.
How do you evaluate the landscape of the River States Conference this season?
It'll be tough. The River States is, I think, a very tough conference that we play in. Hoping we can, again, challenge to get into the playoffs.
When you look at the non-conference schedule, what's notable about that?
Those teams are tough, especially in the AMCC, which we'll be moving to. We want to get ready for that conference moving forward after this season. There's some real good teams in there, and just wanted to schedule some off non-conference games with those teams.
You've made an addition to the coaching staff on the men's side. Dan Nicholas joins. What's his role going to be, and maybe what are some of his best qualities?
Yeah, Dan's an important coach that we brought back. He played for us here at Carlow. He's an alumni at Carlow. He was a very good defensive player. He's going to help us with the defensive line.
There's a pretty big rule change during the off season, as the elimination of overtime, I think, is going to have a major impact. How does that change maybe your approach, especially when the game gets in those late scenarios?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're always going for that win. We want that last goal so that we can end the game. Overtime, it's going to help us, especially on those away trips to Kentucky or Indiana, where we're not going to be there so late. But yeah, it's a different role. It's a good role, I think, with these teams moving forward.
Lastly, we mentioned you guide the women's team, you're the head coach of the men's team, you have an all-encompassing role. What's your favorite aspect of working at Carlow University?
The atmosphere. It's a family atmosphere. Everyone knows everyone. Yeah, it's just a really good place to work at.
And I'm sure they're very glad to have you. Allen, thank you so much for taking the time. As always, look forward to seeing the Celtics have success this season.
Thank you very much.
That's Allen Duda, head coach for men's soccer here on the season preview. We roll along here on the season preview for men's soccer. Sean Meyers now joined by a newcomer to the Celtics, Kevin Garcia, a goalkeeper and a senior. First off, welcome to Carlow. How's the transition gone for you so far?
The transition's great. I'm honestly very glad it went like this, because in the beginning, changing schools, I'd always assume it'd be very difficult. I think what made it easy was just my teammates that were very friendly and accepting and all that. Because sometimes if you go to teams, it's bit of individuals and groups and all that, and I think from here we're all together, so that's what I really liked about the transition the most.
Well, we'll continue on that. You came by way of Lake Erie College. What led to your decision to come to Carlow?
My decision was pretty simple, really. I remember I emailed Duda, and I believe same day he called me, and I could just see the interest he really had in me, and he wanted me to get everything ready and all that. And just the care, sometimes you can tell when a coach really wants a player and cares for the player, instead of just kind of like an extra player, an extra body. So I think that's what really led my decision and made it clear for me.
A lot of the players on this roster, they are guys who grew up in Pittsburgh. They competed in the WPIAL. You came by way of Mexico. So how was that transition to Western Pennsylvania?
Ooh, it's very tough. I had even speak to some of my teammates about it. It's just more of a very small town. This is a very huge town for me. It's very different. I was a kid who used to go up the mountains to get water, and now I'm here living my best life, playing the sport I love and also getting my education.
What are your best attributes as a player?
I think my best attribute, I'd say, is just mainly the dedication I have for this sport. I'm always willing to get better, and I always want to, even for the team-wise and individual-wise, I always want to get better and always know that there's always room for improvement.
Well, I'm sure part of that improvement has to come with the mental game. That's so important for goaltenders, goalkeepers in any sport. How do you improve that? How do you hone that aspect?
The mental side. That's honestly, for me, it was more of just going on through the years with more experience. As a kid, it was always a tough one, because the mental side as a goalkeeper is very tough. I think if you don't gain that and really succeed on that, it will be very tough for you to be a goalkeeper in general. And I think that's what really helped me to become where I am right now, because of helping with my mental side.
One of the coaches on staff, Adam Meyers, he was a former goalie here at Carlow, so I'm sure that you've worked with him. What's your relationship been like?
No, our relationship is really good. I think from the first time we met, I was really glad to have a person who really cares and all that. I remember every time I was willing to go to the fields and want to train and all that, he'd always help me out and always would tell me what to do and all that. It was just good to have someone who really cared, even for the spring semester when it's not really our season, and that's what I really liked about him.
What goals have you set for yourself and for this team?
For myself, it's just do the best I ever can, to be fair. Individually, I always just try to do the best I can, and realistically just always play the game I love and just keep going from there, to be fair. And then as a team, it's just, I think in general, it's always win. I think that's always the goal. And I think my main goal with the team is just to keep a legacy going now. We're building off. Obviously, last season wasn't the most successful for them. And I think this season we can all tell it's different, and that's what I want. I want to build off, and then from when I leave, it can be a fresh, new vibe, not just a terrible one that it was, and have that same mentality they had from last year and the other years before.
Well, you're talking about fresh and new. I'm sure that this schedule and the teams you're going to be facing, that'll be fresh and new to you in particular. Is there anything that you're looking forward to, a match that you've maybe circled, or a couple of them that you've seen on the schedule?
I've looked at a few, but I think realistically, every game I'm ready for, to be fair. I'm just very excited for every single game. Just happy to be here and happy to be playing the sport I love. And realistically, yeah, I think that's just all I'm excited for. I'm excited for any game, to be fair. Any game, and just to win it.
A new rule comes into effect this year, the elimination of overtime for college soccer in the regular season. So what's your reaction to that? How might that maybe impact play?
Yeah, when I first heard that, I was a bit shocked because during my 3 years playing in season in Lake Erie, we would always win sometimes off the overtime. Now, not having that is kind of like it's a bit crazy, but I think it'll make it much easier instead of sometimes, like, say, for an underdog who can pull out a draw in the 90 minutes and have to play another extra 30. It kind of helps them out, and you never know. It's always a good thing to have, to be fair.
Lastly, fill in the blank. This season will be a success if...
I think we'll be a success if we can keep our mental side up and just keep going and pushing no matter what comes in our way. I feel like if we can have that our side and just have each other's back, I think we'll definitely succeed.
Well, Kevin, thanks for doing this. I know that you've been here for several months now, but welcome to Carlow University, and we're looking forward to seeing you out there on the pitch.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Kevin Garcia, goalkeeper, right here on the season preview. We roll along here on the season preview talking men's soccer for Carlow. I'm now joined by a senior, Nick Sinai, a defender. First off, nice to talk to you again. We did this last year, so thanks for doing it for a second consecutive season. How would you evaluate the team's performance overall last year?
Last year, we had a ton of young talent. I honestly think it was in the midst of a rebuild. I think we have a lot of our core still here, with a lot of newer faces. But I think last year was a year that we kind of just got more comfortable as a team. But I think we're gonna use that to go into this year and hopefully see how that goes. So.
Well, you mentioned some of the core still here, and that's because multiple players used that extra year of eligibility to come back. You were one of them. So what went into that decision?
I talked to Coach Duda over the summertime. I knew I had a couple classes to take. I could have gotten them over with last year. We kind of came to a consensus after I talked to John Vier as well that I would like to stretch that out so that I could use my year of eligibility and come back this year and hopefully end with a boom. So
go out on top.
Yeah,
certainly.
Exactly.
What are some of your best qualities on the field?
I think since I've been here for my 4th year now at Carlow, I'm just there as a role model. The kids look up to me. The team sees me as like a vocal point, especially since I'm while in the back line, I can see the whole field well. So I'm there just kind of constructing the team like during the field. So
certainly sounds like you're one of the leaders. Who are maybe some other guys who are going to be counted upon as leaders?
Yeah, we have a bunch of older guys. We have John, Zion, Ian, Kevin, our transfer goalie. So we have a lot of older guys, but I do see some younger guys also taking that leap already. So it's good as well.
Well, speaking about that, who do you anticipate maybe will be some players that have breakout campaigns?
I'm really interested to see Walt Cotta. He's a freshman, also brother of ex-Carlow Celtic. So he has a lot of speed up top. He works well with Sudesh and John up there as well. And then also our transfer as well, Mason out there at the right back as well. So
last year was the first year that Allen Duda guided the men's program after being the women's coach for many years. What do you think his best qualities and attributes are?
I think Duda is like everyone's second dad. Like he's very soft-spoken. He's very good to us. He takes awesome care of us. He's very technical with his coaching. We definitely work together on our formations, on our skills. But I think overall Duda is what our team needed, and I can see, and hopefully by the end of this year, I can say in that talk we had early on that was right, because I don't think this year should be the best year in the program. So.
Well, we heard from him before. He's a very busy man, coaching
Yes.
2 different teams.
Yeah.
So I would think that means that the assistant coaches also have a fairly big role on this team. What's your relationship like with them? How do they help?
Yeah, so Coach Carl has been here since I've been here. Very personal guy, talks to all of us. Coach Adam, who is a ex-teammate of mine, very helpful, with all the goalies. Coach Dan's an add-on, who is also an ex-Celtic. So he's been working a lot on our fitness. So I think all the coaches kind of mold together as one, and I think that's what we needed. So,
What do you have in mind for goals for the team and for yourself?
goals as a team first, I would say, is to go to the Brandywine tournament in 2 weeks or so and bring home the first, I would say the first goal would be to have some type of trophy with Carlow soccer on it. And then hopefully we can break the win record, which I believe is 5 or 6. I'm not sure on that. I think we have a chance of being that too. So just setting a lot of records this year, and propelling the program forward.
Lastly, we mentioned you opted to come back, so there has to be a reason why.
Yeah.
What is your favorite aspect of being here at Carlow?
My favorite aspect is one, the close knit of the trainers. All the coaches are close. As a school wise, academically, I'm super close with all my teachers. It's a small community, but it definitely feels big once you're a part of it for a long time. And also the location, as you see,
Beautiful.
is probably the best stadium in the entire, this side of the state. So, and I am from Philly, so. So.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for doing this once again, and I hope that you have an outstanding senior season here at Carlow.
Awesome, thank you.
Nick Sinai of the Celtics right here on the season preview.